Hello, I'm Michael Kurland, CEO and co-founder of Branded Group, an award-winning facility maintenance and construction management company that services multi-site commercial properties such as retail, restaurants, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions. Welcome to the Be Better podcast. Each week, I interview thought leaders from a variety of industries who will share their stories and the lessons they learn as they strive to be better for their clients, partners, employees, and their community. Are you ready to be better? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurland. Joining me today, Dr. Justin Lin, physical therapist at Rehab and Revive. Justin, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Mike, I really appreciate your time today and having me on. Yeah, I'm Dr. Justin Lin, physical therapist at Rehab and Revive. We're one of the top chronic pain clinics where we specialize in hands-on, innovative techniques here in Tustin, Irvine, California. And yeah, we've just been helping community over the past 10 years. We're excited to celebrate our 10-year anniversary this year is basically the 10-year anniversary. And yeah, kind of bring forth these ways just to help people who've kind of fallen through the cracks with your traditional, conventional therapies that haven't worked or, just kind of plateaued. And, it's our way to kind of boost people up, get people more optimal, get people more efficient, and have them moving and enjoy life and bring back the quality of life that they lost.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on. So first of all, congratulations on 10 years. That is amazing. And we talked pre-show, and it's been quite the journey to get to the 10 years. So let's start there. Like you were talking about, you're trying to get people back to quality of life, and they've fallen through the cracks of traditional medicine. And you guys do, is it a more of a holistic approach? Is that how it is? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can call it a holistic approach. It's so holistic therapy is so broad, right? But I would say when we're looking at the whole body, we created a system called neuromechanical therapy where we're looking at your nerves first and then working on your biomechanics. So it's this kind of inside out approach is a better way to describe it. So in a way it is holistic. We're looking at your whole body because one system like your shoulder could be affected from your neck, your ankle over 10 years. If you sprain that multiple times can become a headache, right? So you want to kind of pick up these things off, and a lot of these little segmental or partitioned way of our traditional medicine here in the Western medical model is we just miss that. And then so we need to start putting these little clues, these little puzzle pieces, and really bring it together and find that whole story that is you, the patient or the client. And we're really just trying to kind of like historically, even chronologically put these things together. And then that's what helps build that person back up from ground up.
I know we're a little off of what we were starting with, but let's just go a little bit further into this because I know for me, and I think this will be a good segue to get into your backstory, but I know for me when I broke my foot when I was 24, I literally tore my Liz Frank and broke every metatarsal in my foot.
Yep.
All 5 metatarsals, and so I needed surgery. Couldn't walk, I was in a walking boot for 3 months to get the swelling down in my foot, then had surgery. I was on the couch or out of commission for 9 months. Couldn't drive, couldn't go to work, couldn't do anything because I had, pretty much my whole foot reconstructed and fused back together. And then now, this is about 18 years later. I have back pain, I have ankle pain, I have shoulder pain, and the traditional way that they dealt with it was here's some painkillers, it'll be fine, just let it heal and it'll Absolutely. Get back to normal. And that was my initial first probably 2 years of dealing with the foot and the back injury. And then I started realizing painkillers were not the way to go. So with that being said, I started looking in a holistic ways, but I think that's a good segue for you to start telling your backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. My backstory and yeah, what a rude awakening when you've been athletic your whole life and you've basically done everything you could, something freak accident happens and then you're stuck with that that pain pill is a resolution when you really need to build back that whole person. So yeah, that's kind of what we do here at Rehab and Revive. But yeah, a little bit of kind of the journey of Rehab and Revive and my personal story. I was working in Washington, D.C. Back in late 2000s, 2009 or something like that. And then, I was just living a good life. New graduate for the most part, I think 4 or 5 years out. I was playing all these sports, these recreational sports, softball, flag football. I ended up tearing my ACL on a cut move, and then it just popped, and I knew instantly. I was already practicing as a therapist, and I knew that it was probably my ACL that had gone, and it really sucked. And kind of hobbled my way to the ER, scheduled an appointment for surgery because I wanted to get back to playing as soon as possible. I was not even 30 yet. I think like late 20s, and just in peak condition, obviously, and love being active. And then, we had surgery, and it was, otherwise pretty successful surgery, kind of in that Western traditional form. And then coming out of it, they obviously gave me pain pills. It was excruciating pain. ACL reconstruction is rated subjectively as the second most painful surgery known to man, other than second to knee replacement. Oh. So, you can kind of topple that, and it's just pretty, I don't know what it is. It's a very insecure feeling. There's a lot of things that are probably tied up to it when you can't move, kind of like yourself, Mike, when you're just kind of down and out, like, you really start questioning.
And how long,
but when they hand you this pain
how long
medicine,
did that pain last, being characterized as the second most painful operation you can have? Like, how long is that pain?
It can last anywhere from 6 to 2 years, 6 months to 2 years. And that's essentially thinking that, I'm a practitioner. I know the body. I would be maybe on the shorter end of this thing. Unfortunately, my body disagreed, and I was kind of left, kind of needing help and not knowing what to do. But basically what happened is I ended up taking more and more of this OxyContin. The surgeon who I trusted decided, hey, you can take more, because if the pain wasn't, I was basically adapting to the levels of the dosage. Yep. And I just kept pumping it up. And at some point, probably like 3 or 4 months later, definitely addicted to the Oxy.
And so I want to pause you here, especially being a doctor. Sure. Like, so, in, as you've mentioned, Western medicine a couple of times, that seems to be, there's a pill for every ill, right? So you have pain. I'm just going to write you a prescription, and it's not because it's in your best interest. It's because the pharmaceutical companies are sending reps in, and they're saying, hey, write enough prescriptions of this, and we'll like get you right. Yeah, we'll get you a bonus. Exactly. Exactly. We'll send you on vacation soon.
Oh, it totally happens.
So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that so the audience is aware of that, and keep on going.
Yeah, and that's definitely happening. And even though I'm a doctor of physical therapy, I had this weird insecurity when I kept asking, "Are you sure I should be taking, one more?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." And part of it's like he's got backlog 20 patients. That's that model. They want to get you in and out, as quick as possible so they can move on to the next client, and maybe extra pain pill, or him just advising that. At some point I was like, I think on my second or third follow-up, I was like, dude, I'm on 9 of these things. And my better senses kept saying, I'm on 9 of these things. Like 2 is enough to kill a horse. Why am I on 9? I'm like, yeah, I'm a beast. I can take 9 of these. Yeah, take it, bring it on. But, that's not good, and 9, I got used to it. I was going to work, probably high. And, there's a chance that, I could have performed malpractice myself, lost my credentials, lost my license, lost my driving license, all that stuff. So, came to one, kind of going back to our little pre-chat, a lot of it came to this headway. Basically, this is all like perfect storm was happening. Thought I was fine. I was taking 9 of these babies, and I went out with friends, drinking one night, and I didn't have someone take my keys. Thought I was fine, better senses, got in my car after, I think it was a good number of drinks, 3, 4, with the OxyContin. And I was probably in DC, the kind of proper, and then driving. I was living in Arlington, Virginia at the time. So I took the 66 down and then got through my exit. And then, of course, like I was on very vigilant because I probably knew I shouldn't be, behind the wheel, and not something I'm proud of course, and definitely a learning lesson. But as I got to it, I think there was a red light. Then I kind of started getting really tired because, you kind of get more relaxed when you're closer to home. I was probably a good mile from home at that point. And then, I fell asleep at the wheel going probably around 40 miles per hour. And luckily it was more of a straightaway. But, I think I was down and out for about, 40, 45 seconds. I don't know how long, to be honest. But by the time I came to, I was, I looked up and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I'm seeing a pedestrian, in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Northern Virginia. People are out and about, especially on the weekends. And it doesn't matter what time. I think it was like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. at the time. I'm seeing a guy basically in the middle of the street. I think the hood, basically from my driver's seat to the hood and probably another car length was basically where this pedestrian was. And I'm like, oh shit, like I'm fucked. Like I'm going to see blood. I'm going to have my windshield crack, the hood, I'm going to lose my license. All this happened. I closed my eyes. I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm totally screwed. I'm like, and I'm waiting for the stud. My eyes are closed. I'm waiting for the stud and a crack and like I'm going to have to stop. And I don't even know how I'm going to explain this story to the police. Hopefully this person's not dead, but, and nothing happened. I opened my eyes and I just looked in the rear view somehow, some way. Maybe this guy saw me coming, jumped out of the way. Of course, he's like flicking me off, in the background and, cursing my name. And I panicked. I definitely just, sped off back to my apartment, parked, ran up to my bathroom, threw on the showers, the cold showers. I think I was in there for about 8, 9, 10 hours. Just in my party clothes, curled up, crying, like becoming, like, how did I become this way? How did I become this person that I shouldn't be and wasn't, I swore to protect the community and, I'm a healthcare practitioner and why did I even get behind the wheel? Like, my better senses, my logic was definitely skewed. I could say part was willpower, part was, maybe being under the influence, not thinking correctly, thinking I was fine, thinking I was invincible. Because sometimes when you're under these oxys and these opioids, you feel powerful, and it really feeds off some of that emotional insecurity, that psychological insecurity you might have. And at that time, it was just this revelation. I kept saying, what do I got to do to get out of this? What do I got to do to get out of this? And, whether it's, God or some other voice, inner voice, it just kept saying, go home, right? Go home. And home is Irvine, California, and in Southern California. And my parents are here and everything like that. And it just kept go home. And then, I think from that moment is if I didn't listen to those times and that point, I would have been in the same situation again. And maybe the outcome wouldn't have been, as favorable. So yeah, I was home in 6 months, back in my childhood home in my small twin size bed, my feet hanging out and going, what, I was a bachelor, now I'm back under my parents' roof.
Well, that's a very, vulnerable story. I really appreciate you sharing all of the details. Thankfully everyone's okay. And, it's really I really want to touch on the opioids. You talked about that because opioid dependency is such a, terrible thing going on in our country right now. And it has been for a long time. And what, for the audience that doesn't really know, what happens is when you get hooked on pain pills, they'll write you prescriptions like Dr. Lin was talking about, and they'll just keep giving them to you and they'll keep upping your dosage. And then one day they'll shut them off. And then you have to figure out what to do, and most people then go buy heroin on the street because it's the cheapest way you can get your opioid dependency fixed. Exactly.
Yep.
So I'd like to touch on that. Like, just why is it that you feel like we are in this place in Western medicine? I mean, obviously, I think it's big pharma. I think I mentioned that before, but I mean, coming from your point of view as a doctor, what is it? Why?
Oh, I totally believe, like I said earlier, great marketing, people's vulnerability. We're in this like rush type of society. You know, you can Amazon Prime, you can DoorDash, you know, you don't have to wait. You can just, you know, everything's at your fingertips. So, you know, why would suffering for one more minute, one more hour be, you know, relevant, right, in your life? Like, you on your couch, you know, if you had, other than, luckily you had the willpower not to be on this junk, you know.
Dude, I mean, I had similar issues. You know, I was hooked on it for almost a year, and I was drinking on them too. And like, you know, they put the thing on the bottle, but I was a 24-year-old kid. I'm like, oh, my friends are drinking beers, like, and dude, I didn't drive. I couldn't drive, thank God, because my foot was broken. My right foot was broken. But you know, I did a lot of I probably would have. I did a lot of dumb things. I definitely went out drinking on crutches and fell, and probably did more damage to my foot than you know, the original injury. I thought I was invincible, to your point, because I didn't feel any pain. But you also, I think you touched on something else that's very important, is you don't think you're high. You know, you said it yourself. You're like, oh, I took 9 and I would go to work and do my job. I mean, I would take 9. I don't know if I took 9, but you know, I took a healthy amount, and the world was normal. Then I'd have a couple beers and the world was not normal, but you know, so, but like, this is people don't realize this when they're getting how like, I don't think the doctors really tell you how, you know, you can consult, you know, go to CVS and do you want to consult with a pharmacist, and then it's left to your own device. But no one really warns you how powerful these things can be when you're getting them. At least they weren't when I'm thinking me and you were taking them. So,
yeah, they're still. I think it's still very prevalent. Like I said, everything's moving fast. Everyone wants that quick fix, and then really thinking about, you know, oh, do I want to do something like holistic physical therapy or other things? Oh, that's going to take a lot longer. But here's a pill, right? Like, it'll magically go away. You and I didn't think anything of it. I thought I was functioning fine as a human. And yeah, what happens when, you know, it's cut off finally? And like, hey, you're taking too much. And, you know, the pharmacist starts ringing the alarm, and then you're kind of screwed. In that sense, and you know, and it's such a powerful thing because there's a feedback when you take the mechanism inside the brain. When you take opioids, you know, it's kind of the basis of that is opium, right? You know, if you really think about that, you know, that pleasure, that reward center, and who doesn't want to feel good, right? Like, that's just, you know. But I think, you know, we've had such a great. If you really want to, I mean, we can be on a soapbox. But if you know, the way the world is painted right now, there's such a huge aversion to pain and suffering, right? But maybe you need pain and suffering to show you the good stuff in life, right?
Isn't it like the yin and
the beauty of it, right? You need that balance.
The yin and yang. Like, without pleasure, without pain, there's no pleasure, right? So then, how do you even know?
Yeah, and I think it's there to warn us. I mean, that's why pain, as a physiological adaptive thing, is to show us, hey, you know, you're doing something too much, too far. You don't want to quiet that down. You don't want to mute it down. It's like, hey, you probably don't want to be, you know, hobbling on that foot going drinking, you know, or hey, you probably, you know, you're in pain with your knee, and you know, you shouldn't get in the car and, you know, and mess around and horse around with your friends, right? Like, you should just rest.
Exactly.
You know, there's this powerful book, right? It's like Why We Sleep is like bestseller right now, right? But rest. I mean, that's the most powerful performance enhancement for our brain and our body out there. But, you know, we don't emphasize that. We're on this go, quick. And I think when we relook back at, you know, when 20 to 100 years now, our children research this time, they're going to look back, man, these guys were freaks. Like, you know, why were they needing to speed up the world when, you know, everything was very manageable?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I used to have a saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And now I'm like, I'll sleep tonight for 8 hours to 8 to 10 hours. And I'm okay with that. I used to go out in my 20s, and I think I mentioned this before on the show. And I would say, you know, we'd go out till 2. I lived in Connecticut, and you could just jump over the border to New York and then go out till 4. So we'd do all that. And then I started realizing nothing good happens after 2. And then I got here to California, and I started realizing nothing good happens after 12. So I'll go home by midnight. And now I'm like, nothing good happens after 10. I'm in bed by like 9:30.
Yeah, 10. That's my philosophy too. at this stage in our lives. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to get hooked on this stuff. They don't tell you, and I think, you know, the world needs to know. You know, a lot of us who are successful have suffered in a lot of pain. And there's ways about it. There's ways to get out of this funk, you know, being around the right social atmosphere that promotes a better well-being, you know, having loved ones, your support system is some of the key. And then getting the right help from professionals that believe that, hey, you don't need,
you got to do the work.
You know, let's do a longer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it works, you know, and that's kind of what, you know, this is all about when I talk about rehab and revive. It's, you know, it wasn't just, you know, physically rehab and reviving, but there's so many life stories that need to rehab and revive.
So let's talk about this now. Like, so you're living in your parents' house, you're in your twin bed from high school, and then where'd you go from there? Like, how did rehab and revive come?
You know, I was depressed. You know, I went from this crazy like adrenaline, you know, time, and then it just dropped, bottomed out. And then life just, you know, handed me more sickness or weird stuff or weird people. You know, I ended up working for a crook out in Sherman Oaks. They were doing fraud and insurance fraud and Medicare fraud, and you know, they're awful. Yeah, wow. and I got fired because I didn't want to subscribe to that. Eventually, this is what led. And then I got blackballed. You know, what a crazy time, right? To go from almost killing someone in a car, then getting fired because I stood up for my you know, ethics and not doing that. Couldn't find a job. Went back to, you know, I was up in LA, but then, you know, within 2 months I was back down Orange County, sitting around growing a Fu Manchu, you know, walking around my pajamas. And my parents are like, no, we can't have this. I think about 2 months of me being angry, staring at the you know, the wall, you know, was enough for them. And, you know, my mom, with her greater senses and, you know, knowing how to push my buttons, was able to just kind of jumpstart that part of my life. So she had one of my aunts actually also tore her ACL, ironically the same side. One of my mom's friends, so I call her Auntie, and she said, "Yeah, I've got you know, Aunt Joe's coming in like 2 hours," and I'm like, you know, I'm like all disheveled, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to treat her, Mom." And then she's like, "No, she's coming, so you know, clean up." And I was like, "Well, there's nothing I can treat her with, you know, or whatever." And she's like, you know, I was like, "I'm not gonna do it like on the ground or whatever, you know." And she just like slapped $200 on the table, and she goes, "Go to Costco, pick up a massage table." And that was kind of the beginning of it all, right? So I was like, I grumbled, went to Costco, picked up a massage table, and then, you know, it was great. Aunt Joe has a large social network. And then she started telling all the other aunties, and that was cool. It basically was really interesting because now I'm operating out of my house. Rehab and Revive started that way. I had these really wealthy, middle-aged women, you know, knocking on the door every hour. You know, the neighbor's probably like, "Man, what's up with this guy? He's like a gigolo," and they're leaving happy, right?
That's hilarious.
You know, and then I was like tucking away money. You know, I think at the time it was like, you know, $50 or something like that I was charging, and I was just, you know, just kind of squirreling it away. And then eventually came to the point my mom was like, "Hey, you should think about having a little storefront or a little, an actual office and not operating this out of the house. And, within, I think 6-8 months after, me starting working with my aunt, I moved to a little small one roomer. And then a year after that, I was in a storefront with two rooms. And then now I'm where I'm at here in Tustin, 4 rooms. We have an associate, we have staff. It's really cool to kind of see this story unfold. And I think, when you're thinking about, I hate to be, really, kind of what everyone says, it's just like things happen for a reason, right? Very trite about that, or I think they really do. And the signals are out there. And if you appreciate what you can see these signals, then you're gonna latch onto them. You're like, okay, this is a sign. I better do something with it. And I think, life's given me multiple chances. And I think this was the one that we could pivot from and really make a difference and, help those in very similar situations. There are a lot of people are coming here trying to avoid surgery or having unsuccessful care. And then, we just keep helping people over and over and over. And our chronic pain, I think the success rate of chronic pain across all modalities, NIH had a study in 2016, 17% our outcome measures are close to 80%, 70, I think 77.8%.
And that means so you get
for full recovery.
Getting full recovery? Oh, wow.
Yeah, like just getting out of pain. Can't help everyone, but you know what? If people commit to it and they pay attention to their bodies and listen and help us and, become an active participant in their own healing. I think that's what it is. When you're talking about pain pills, we become passive participants. But when you actively make a mind shift, a pivot around that, then that's when the true healing begins. Hope. That's the real pill.
Totally. I mean, I can tell you, from my healing, like once I did get off the pills, I kind of, it was probably like 26, and it took me another like 6 years to really, because after I broke my foot, to your point, I wasn't never a star athlete, but I could play basketball, I could play backyard football with my buddies, go play softball. I did all those things, and then I didn't do anything for like 6 years. I just got fat. That's what I did. I had a built-in excuse. I have pain in my foot. I can never run again. I was scared to run. I had scar tissue in my foot from the surgery, and I was like, I don't want to re-break this, because it was a horrific injury, and it was like it took a year out of my life, and I was just so scared to like re-injure myself by doing anything. So I just stayed sedentary, and I gained like 50 pounds. And then I woke up one day, and I was smoking cigarettes too, like an idiot. And I woke up one day, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And so I went through a divorce. I knew I was like probably not long for my job in Long Island, and I was getting ready to think about my next moves in life. And I was like, well, I'm about to be single again, and I can't be 50 pounds overweight. So I started running, and I was like, I'll be damned if it hurts or it doesn't hurt. I'm going to figure this out. And I quit smoking. I had quit smoking a few years prior, but I started running, and my foot still to this day is held up, and I still have chronic pain from all that stuff. But the point I was trying to make is when I got out to California, I started investigating holistic ways of healing, because I did switch my mind from passive to being a part of the hope. And I started doing yoga. I started doing Pilates, and I started going to holistic healers. And I got a good buddy who also does holistic PT, and we got me moving in the right direction without pills. And it's not run by the insurance companies. It's not run by big pharma. And so it changed my life. And that's one thing you mentioned before, is like, the guy, you go to a doctor and they pump you through, right? Because they stack their patients, and they only do like 15 minutes because insurance. It's something to do with insurance. So I'd really like you to speak a little bit more about that, and also how you handle it, because you don't do that, correct? You guys? Okay.
No, we don't. Yeah. So my practice, Rehab Revives, out of network. You pay up front, and we just give you the service. If you like what we do, you come back, and if you don't come back, right? And I think that drives our quality of care. But to your point, when I've worked in the insurance models. The insurance, I think what a lot of people don't understand is insurance really isn't insurance. It might be a little bit more of a assurance, in essence, and that's what you're paying for. But you're not, I think a lot of times there's ways that practitioners can game the system to maximize. What do they call it now? They call it creative billing.
Right.
That's another word for fraud, by the way. Creative billing. Let's just say that. And they maximize their times, and they get away with it. It's funny because I reported my old boss to the commission here in California, and I had smoking gun memos, and I calculated they must have been doing about close to $1 million in fraud a year, with all the therapists that they had, and then they brought. It's really interesting. Yeah, they came back and they said, yeah, there's nothing wrong. We audited these guys. And I was like, are you kidding me? I have smoking gun memo telling me to upcode different things. And so, yeah, the insurance company is the client, not the patient.
Right. Because you have to.
So yeah, when you're paying out of pocket, you're the client. You're the actual client. Because my job as your practitioner, as your doctor, is to make you happy, make you feel better, and then get you out of there so you can Yelp us and write awesome Google reviews or something like that, and spread the gospel.
And that's a great segue. So let's talk about the other endeavor that you have, which is being a YouTube superstar. Let's get into that a little bit. So you got a bunch of stuff on YouTube. Tell the audience about that.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, Rehab Revive, and so it's www.youtube.com/Rehab Revive, and it's meant to be our global initiative to help those do stuff at home, do DIY, do it yourself. Within reason, of course. I always suggest that people go see their healthcare practitioner, make sure that it's safe. But I think a lot of people who can't afford to come in, this is my way of giving back to the world and community. It's amazing. We've had, a couple videos get 1 million plus views. Something simple as how to walk, how to sleep, really, make and transform people's lives. And I'm grateful that there's the support from the community. And, hopefully those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe as well. Because I think, there's a lot of good information, even coming down to things like vertigo or dizziness, or even, people who are constipated, So we love talking about all these things because no one really is out there kind of championing or even wanting to talk about some of these things that are a little bit more taboo, and that kind of close to you. But we all have these problems, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. And I think I'm happy to bring that forth and really educate the public and have this as a forum to help so many others. I think that's the key, is that I want to give back. That's kind of my moving into my next missions in my career and my personal goals, is to really help as many people, just like you, Mike, to really share people's stories. And hey, we're not too far off from being successful or being a failure. It's really a small line, right? You've got your little branded sign, that little that line is really a small line from being the bomb and failing. And I think that's what it is we just keep trying to push along, and we're we all have a story that motivates us. And I think whoever's motivated, whoever's ambitious enough and hungry enough to help those, work isn't hard, right, Mike? When you're at this point, we love what we do. We get to help our staff. We get to help them grow. And it's a beautiful thing that it doesn't even feel like work. We're just, the hard part is getting up in the morning. That's my work. Yeah. and then getting to work, getting dressed, not having a Fu Manchu anymore.
Yeah, I'm doing my best right over here. I got to get to the razor, but it's been
absolutely. So yeah, that's basically what it's all about,
Well, yeah, man. Well, I certainly think your entire story embodies being better. So Justin, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. If the audience wants to get a hold of you, how can they do so?
So we have our website, I don't know, did I say 3 W's? Rehabandrevive.com, or our YouTube. You can hit us up there or leave comments, and we'll always try to give you as much feedback as possible as well. And then we have our regular Facebook and Instagram at Rehab and Revive. So those are the best ways to kind of contact us as well, and really just try to get better and be an active participant is always my lesson. It's easy to go down the passive route, but when you add yourself into the equation, your I into your own healing, I think that's going to be the way to get yourself out of this funk, out of this skittle popping mentality that we all it's easy, like Mike and I, we were susceptible to this thing. We thought we were above it. I thought I was above it.
Totally.
Over rationalizing. And I think it's good to know and send people who you may know that are suffering from this addiction to the right places, these addiction centers, or if they need to just reach out and they need someone to talk to. I'm happy to be around. I'm sure Mike's happy to be around to really try to coach some people through, because it's some rough times in hindsight, and we want to get people better.
Totally. Big Pharma knows what they're doing. There's analytics out there. So, but again, Justin, thank you so much for coming on, and audience, until next time.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope that today's episode inspired you to become a purpose-driven leader in your career or your community. There is no doubt that when we lead with purpose, we can change lives. If you enjoyed today's show, I'd be grateful if you would take a moment to rate us on your preferred listening platform. To learn more about Branded Group's Be Better experience and how we provide industry-leading, on-demand facility maintenance, construction management, and special project implementation, visit us at www.branded-group.com. Be sure to follow us on social media, and you can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Until next time, be better.